It's time for a very special episode of Let's Get Depression. Yesterday, as we saw a bunch of disgruntled hicks overtake the Capitol building in the USA, we saw what happens when you riot, commit acts of treason and terrorism, and aren't black. Police save their bullets. I kept asking myself where the fuck all the gung-ho police that are so eager to crack skulls, where were they? Where were they during all this? They wait for riots to happen so they could put on their fancy toys and go hurt people, but I guess they were the ones invading.
Hey, Calf! Hey, Calf! Hey, Calf! Hey, Calf!
I guess they were just taking selfies with the people breaking into the Capitol building to overturn the results of the election. I thought the whole point of the police was to upkeep the state and protect property, and they did neither here. If you've been watching my previous stupid little videos like these, you know that Instagram's been stifling the art of any creatives who aren't sucking the cock of corporate, religious, billionaire lobbyists. So as a result, I've been trying other social media platforms to see what else is out there. You know, things that won't delete me for being me. VSCO looks good and has a really nice interface. Unfortunately, very few people use it. Good vibe though, in what little community they do have. Facebook seems reserved only for anti-vaxxer moms and rural white rappers regurgitating every conspiracy they've ever heard with every single vape-drenched breath. TikTok is bumping, but I'm not 17, I don't do dances, and I find the whole act of lip-syncing other people's jokes to be super fucking obnoxious. As narcissistic as it sounds, I think I'm funny enough to make jokes rather than, do joke karaoke. Also, it seems like most of these quotes come from reality TV, which just fucking gives my soul diarrhea. And then there's Twitter. Every single sex worker friend of mine has told me that Twitter is actually a much safer place for people who make art like us, just so long as you don't put any naughty no-no stuff in the profile pic or header, otherwise you get fucking banned. I don't understand why all apps aren't like Twitter, in that they have an 18+ function. I mean, Instagram, listen, you money-hungry son of a bitch. Instead of deplatforming us, make money off us, sell us, ads for, liquor and wiener pills. You make so much more money. Please, do this. Don't delete us. Just make more money off us. The downside, of course, to Twitter is that the Dunning-Kruger effect is actually celebrated, and conversations don't fucking exist. It might be that because the whole crux of Twitter's platform is the 280 character limit, so just doesn't seem that thoughtful conversations and exchanges happen there. What happens, however, is that quippy, dismissive public performances of wit and politics do get revered, and we call anyone a fucking genius just so long as they regurgitate shit we already believe in. Twitter's a fucking horrible place. If you want to lose faith in any celebrity or public persona that you like, just follow their Twitter. Give it time, they'll say something, you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with this person? So I'm seeing gems like these. The man pictured in Nancy Pelosi's office took a piece of her mail, made it out safely, and then posed for a pic. Committing felonies. And then they found him on Facebook. So this one's from November 3rd. If Donald Trump were to lose, he won't. His supporters will go to work tomorrow just as we do every day. When Biden loses, his supporters will likely loot and riot. Tells you everything you need to know, Trump 2020. That one fucking aged well. Watching all these bootlickers commit social media documented felonies is truly fucking fascinating. It really drives home the old adage of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Weirdest thing is if this shit happened outside of America, America would be using it as an excuse to invade. They even preemptively cut themselves off from reason on this one. Someone's sharing this shit and they're like, whoa, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, showing a bunch of MAGA people invading the Capitol, and then that's Antifa, liar. Antifa told to pose as Trump supporters, you moronic leftists. Yes, Antifa is so upset that Donald Trump lost the election that they decided to interrupt the ceremonial vote count that would seal Joe Biden in. No, fuck that. Let's go one step further. How do you know it's not MAGA posing as Antifa, posing as MAGA to disenfranchise and delegitimize Antifa, huh? How come you haven't thought about that? Checkmate, loser. So I'm doing the normal thing anyone has to do to stay sane during these weird fucking times, and I'm sharing a bunch of stupid memes and shit that I'm saying about the whole thing. When I get a message from a dude who was previously admittedly really supportive of my creative endeavors. Now, I'm not usually one to blast an individual for messaging someone privately about things like these, but there's a very important point to be made with this. Anytime I shared a meme about something he disagreed with, he'd be like, yeah, but what about this other thing? And you're like, eh. And like, that's, by the way, a tactic that Donald Trump has somehow like totally legitimized. If someone brings up a valid point of rebuttal, you just like switch the topic. There's actually a phenomenal video about that phenomenon called The Alt-Right Playbook, Never Play Defense by Innuendo Studios. It talks about this weird fucking schism that happens in debate these days. It's great at breaking it down. So doing this dumb little back and forth where he's like, a person got shot. And I'm like, isn't there that law in the States where it's like, you know, trespassers can be shot or whatever? He's like, ha ha ha, I have a gun, I don't care, which is weird. And then, so I brought up the fact that a bunch more people got shot during the Black Lives Matter protests after George Floyd's death. And he was just like, oh yeah, that's totally different. I'm like, fucking how? Like, this is crazy. So we're doing this stupid back and forth and we're not really getting anywhere. And then the whole thing crescendos with this message. Well, was great conferencing with you, but I gotta unfollow you, my friend, just because I can't support artists who use their platform to push political agendas. Now, it's not my platform and that's how you want to use your time. That's fine. But I'm looking for artists, not political agents. These discussions lead to no one being happy. No one is ever right. No one is ever wrong. It just creates divide. And for that reason, I just can't support you or want to see it. We get enough of it everywhere else. And my mission is to support artists. You'll be fine without me, but for now, I must take the cross at this road. This is the issue. You're being confronted with a set of ideals that are based in reasons, so you shut them out. And you're manufacturing an echo chamber. Is this insular experience that's exactly the reason why we're so fucking divided as a people? I'll point out that that little bit at the end there, where he talks about these conversations never ending well, he's mostly right, unfortunately. But I'd say the improper thing to do is to presumptuously dictate that like all future conversations will ever go that poorly. That's like only setting yourself up and your entire reality for confirmation bias. You can tell these types of exchanges have never gone well for him in the past, and I like almost feel bad for the guy until you get to the part where he's like, artists shouldn't be political. Bitch, what? You've never heard my music. I make intentionally dumb, unconscious rap mixed with extremely satirical political jabs the entire way through. The problem is, with dum-dums, you get context blindness. Like, after a show once, I had a fan legitimately offer me lean because I made a stupid impromptu joke on stage about how I'm addicted to butt-chugging lean. And I had to explain to him that I was joking and I actually don't do any drugs. And I could see how fucking upset he was. He thought the joke was for realsies. And it was really depressing to think about how difficult life must be for someone who can't process levels beyond face value like that. The presumption that artists can't be political or artists aren't political is the exact same, though. My parents were political activists and like hardcore street punks. My musical efforts have always been like part satirical and part political. I toured in a hardcore punk band with like heavy political undertones for like 7 years. As long as I could remember, I've been pouring my heart and soul into creating things that have value and meaning. Even when I'm being funny or the aesthetic seems shallow, it's a conscious effort to subvert your expectations. Like even in my photography. Sure, my visual art does involve boobs and butts or whatever, and that does seem to attract a shallow audience, but most people, thank fuck, seem to actually get it. And I'm no fucking martyr or like glorified holy being for doing this, but there is a conscious effort in what I do to like contradict a lot of societal norms. I don't touch up my photos. I shoot film, keep it pretty raw. Leave any editing for like hyper stylization rather than perfection. I shoot all body types. Not some political saint changing the world or anything, but these are conscious choices I've made for reasons. Hell, but like even the medium is like hyper politicized and scrutinized every chance possible. The very reason this conversation started is because I'm being deplatformed by a social media platform. And the reason I'm being deplatformed by that social media platform is because right-wing religious billionaires are lobbying to control the media and how women's bodies are perceived. If you want to know more about that, there's this amazing article on the whole thing. Let me find it for you real quick.
This is the article here. The new war on porn, how moral crusaders, mainstream media, and politicians are gunning.
The whole don't get political thing is just so fucking weird. The only people who get upset about shit like this are like the right-wing chuds who are always on the wrong side of history. The Cheeto-encrusted dwellers of mom basements everywhere who fapped a Star Wars fan fiction had to be all like, they got the audacity to be angry and be like, oh, you had to go and make it political. You had to ruin this franchise and just go and make it political because the franchise that was literally founded on political fucking roots of the economically disenfranchised and the enslaved needing to band together to overthrow a tyrannical government led by an evil emperor. They got so angry just because he decided to cast a woman and a black dude. It's really obvious to anyone with half a brain what you're upset about. We have a hard time empathizing with others. We get it. Weird. They don't view black people and women as equal human beings, but political fodder for corporations to prove a point and like feign a certain disingenuous wokeness or something. And like to a degree, I get why that would be upsetting. You know, like if you're upset that politics are invading everything, that could be upsetting. But guess what? Everything's fucking political. In fact, the very franchise that you're fetishizing and heralding as pure and exempt from politics was actually founded on political ideals. And all ideals are political ideals. Are you upset that politics are invading your stupid Space Wizards story and it doesn't have more relatable white bros in it? Well, imagine how upset you would be if politics were literally fucking killing you. This weird new wave, radical, aggressive, centrist thing that's really taken off lately only ever really seems to come from people that have no fucking clue that they themselves have really traditionalist right-wing ideals. Politics even literally define every single non-political activity that you want to partake in. Want to know why you woke up in a big comfy bed and not a gulag's cement floor this morning? That's right, politics. Feel like saying something that's on your mind? Well, guess what? Politics will define what's allowed to be said, where you're allowed to say it, and why. Feel like a hot dog for lunch? Guess what? Politics will define what's in that hot dog. Want to have sex with the person you love? Ho, 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 ho! Politics. Politics. You'd be in jail if, you know, they were the same sex as you and it was a couple decades ago. Oh, you want to marry that person you love? Oh, well, politics will dictate whether you're allowed to and who they are based on your region. Oh, you want to start a family with the person you love? Guess what? Politics. Has a lady you love been sexually assaulted? Guess what? Politics will define whether or not she's considered a victim or fucking property depending on where you are in the world. Oh, plus whether or not she's forced to have to birth and mother that rapist's baby. You have a black friend? Well, guess what? Politics would have them enslaved less than 155 years ago, and politics are also the reason why they're more likely to be shot to death or thrown in a private prison for a bribe judge to make money off of. You have a Latino friend? Well, guess what? Politics will determine whether or not they're to be removed from their family, isolated, tortured, and caged. Art imitates life, imitates art. The only people who think that politics has no place in art are like super underexperienced, isolated white people with no friends. They have no experiences different from theirs, and they probably listen to Nickelback and considered 5-flavored fruit punch art or some shit. Even the artists that don't have any politics in their art still have political agendas. They're still people. Wouldn't you rather know what political agenda you're supporting by, you know, conversing with artists that wear this shit on their sleeve and are honest about their ideals rather than pulling a fucking dead Kennedys and going 180 degrees on everything after Jello Biafra left? The reason you don't like politics and the art you consume is because you have a hard time empathizing with others. Imagine being discriminated against for your entire life, not because of something you chose to do, but because of how you were born. What kind of songs do you think you would write? What kind of paintings do you think you would paint? Would your experience not have any validity to it? Imagine trying to express how you feel through your craft and then being told that it needs to go away because it doesn't give me that bland, indescript good vibe I want from your dancing clown ass. You exist to cater to me. I want to be reminded that everything is fine, damn it. The status quo became the status quo because it's supposed to be maintained, not challenged or worked against. Plus, also, if you really think about it, white people are the only true minority on Earth when you look at all the numbers globally. So, therefore, we're more discriminated against than any other race per capita. The reason you're a consumer and not an artist is because you're complacent. The job of the artist is to create, not maintain. Whether it be through sincerely articulating the pain they felt or the experiences they've lived, or, like me, simply taking the piss out of every single fucking cultural trope that you find annoying and absurd, the purpose of art is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. So, thanks for reminding me I'm doing my fucking job.